guys would not believe how crazy this last portion of pregnancy has been. Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna jump right into it. If you've never been here before, my name is Sarah. Thank you for stopping by my channel. It's been quite a minute. I don't want anybody to think that I just kind of forgot about making content after I got pregnant. It's more so just that, as I've said before, I work 40 hours a week and I'm very pregnant, and pregnancy exhaustion has been one of my biggest things that I've dealt with throughout pregnancy. So getting the time to or the energy, I should say, to create the content has been a little rough. But I'm hanging in there, I'm surviving, I'm here, and I'm trying to kind of get back into the swing of things as we're approaching her due date. I knew that I needed to get in and get an update. Yes. So where do I even start? The gender reveal. I am having a girl. I am going to go ahead and insert the video of Anthony and I finding out that we are having a girl. I will also include the video of us telling my parents that we're having a girl. They're the only family that we have nearby us, so they're the only people that we got to catch, unfortunately, but it was just kind of a special moment. So and right prior to that, we had kind of a very traumatic incident on a plane that I will explain after the clip. So that moment was kind of a big deal for us. It was special, and we both were really convinced that we were having a boy. So when we found out it was a girl, we were really surprised. Anthony definitely wanted a boy first. Whatever, you know, he loves her so much, and we're both excited to be having a girl now. But he definitely, you could tell, he wanted a girl first, or a boy first. See, pregnancy brain, I can't even get my thoughts out. Whew. And I'm out of breath a lot. Y'all help. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I will go ahead and insert that for you to watch now. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. So as far as the harmony testing goes, so all the chromosomal testing that they did for the trisomies 13, 18, and 21, everything came back low risk. So that's good. Everything looks nice and healthy.
Okay, cool.
So yes, everything there is wonderful. And then as far as the gender, were you guys wanting me to tell you over the phone, or did you want me to send you something either?
No, just go ahead and say it.
Go ahead and say it. Okay, sounds good. Okay, it's a girl.
Oh my gosh, okay,
Congratulations,
thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any questions right now?
No,
We gotta start working on another one.
no, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, start working on those girl names.
Oh my gosh, okay, thank you. We're having a baby girl.
Yeah. But I wanted a boy.
Made me choking on my saliva.
I think the girl can still wear this.
Yeah.
Oh
My gosh.
That is exciting. So Marissa's guess was a boy.
Okay, this one boy, this one girl. What do you think?
Lucy, do nothing.
Ollie, girl. Okay.
Ask Ollie too. You want your boy? Hey, boy or girl?
Girl? They both say girl. Okay. Okay, Marissa.
Boy.
Bree.
Okay. My original, there we go. My original guess before I have been around you was girl.
Mm-hmm.
So for weeks it was girl. And then I started spending a bit more time with you, and for some reason my brain has been saying boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in an unsure state.
But so you've been kind of edging towards boy a little bit more.
From being around you, yes.
Boy or girl?
You're the factor here. I know you really wanted a boy,
Mm-hmm.
because if a girl came first, then there would be nobody to protect the boy.
Yeah.
What?
And or the girl, I mean. So if the girl came second, it needs an older brother.
Mhm.
And so if it was a boy, you'd be really, really excited.
Mhm.
I think you're just very excited, but I think if it was a boy, I think that you would be like
I
Totally
think
like.
Tony
Mom
has
said girl.
I've been
Anthony
curious
was
what you
pregnant 'cause
think
there's
this
something under
whole
his shirt.
time,
Yep.
Since you kind of had your mind made up
Well,
That
the
just
first
my
baby.
initial thought was girl, but I actually had a dream the other day, and I'm probably wrong because my dreams don't come true. But there was a
You
little
wanted us all
boy
here,
in
we're
the
all
dream,
here. That's
so
not
I'm just gonna go with that one.
boy.
Okay.
No way. A
Every-
little boy, but wait first. Was the
can't
little boy
change
in
it.
our family?
I don't even remember the dream, you know.
You just remember a little boy from. He's a Pisces.
But my initial thought was a
Pisces is the most psychic. So maybe he knows.
Well,
He
now
doesn't
I'm
know.
just going off my dream, but my initial thought was girl. But I'm going with
That's how
boy.
I feel. I'm with Jeff on this.
Okay.
What?
Everyone has to
So,
close their eyes.
so hold on. So we have boy, girl, and boy.
Yeah.
But then you two were girl at one point, but
Yeah.
then changed. Okay.
No wait. What did you guys think it would be before you found
Well,
out?
I wanted a boy.
He
so
was.
like,
He thought it was a boy,
yeah.
and I was very conflicted. Like I thought it was a boy in the beginning, and then towards the end, I was kind of more like, oh, but maybe it's a girl. I don't know. And toward like when we found out, I was still on the fence. So
Carolyn had boys.
Okay, let's.
everyone has to close their
Nice.
eyes.
Close your eyes.
Everyone close them.
Close
Nope,
them.
Mom.
Tony's gonna
Shut
show
up
us
right
his
now.
belly.
5, 4.
Okay.
Can we look?
Yeah.
I knew it!
What? Girl? It's a girl! I knew it! Dude!
No.
Oh, I'm so excited!
I'm not surprised.
He picked
though.
them out.
That's
Aw.
so cute!
I'm a little baby.
No way.
So everybody was really excited. We are naming our daughter Everly Rose, spelled like the Everly Brothers. We have had that name picked out for a girl since like 4 months into our relationship, and we've been together for 7 years. We just have never been able to agree on a boy name, so that was one thing that we kind of thought was funny, that the one gender that we were always able to agree on a name for never wavered in like 6 years. We ended up having that first, so it must have been a God thing. But we chose Everly because first that's been my favorite name since I was in, I don't remember what grade I was. It was like 8th or 9th grade, and I was serving with my grandma in the nursery at church, and there was this little girl in there named Everly, and I had never heard the name before at that point. And she like always came in dressed up like a little vintage doll. She was the cutest little thing ever, and she was obsessed with her mom. Just want to talk about her mom and her dolls, and it just stuck with me. Like, I've always wanted to be a mom, and I thought she was the sweetest thing. So when Anthony and I started dating, we started talking about marriage and babies right away, and when I suggested that name to him, he really, really liked it. So it was just kind of the one that stuck with us. And then Rose is to represent his aunt that passed away in a fire when he was pretty young. So it's a special name to us. We're really excited. Yeah, it's been surreal. So kind of to backtrack a little bit and explain what on earth happened. As you probably know if you're watching this, or maybe if you're new, you don't know, but we did fertility treatments to conceive Everly. And I was taking progesterone suppositories, which is a pill that you have to insert into your hoo-ha daily. And those can irritate your cervix and make you spot. So all throughout my first trimester, I was bleeding on and off. And we had planned, when I was a day before 12 weeks pregnant, a trip to California. We moved from California to North Dakota 2019. We had not been back to visit our family, and we were like, we are having a baby now, so now would be the perfect time to go back and visit family before the baby gets here, so that, you know, we can just see all the people we haven't seen in a long time. So we had made that plan, and we attempted to take our trip. We had a layover from Fargo to Texas, and on that flight, which was essentially my first flight, I've been on a plane when I was a baby, but I don't remember it. It was pretty much my first flight. I started bleeding a lot on the plane, in the air. I was sitting next to Anthony. I didn't want to get up. I was really nervous, like, you know, the takeoff. I was like squeezing his arm, squeezing my eyes shut, just super freaked out. And I started feeling a little leaky, like I thought maybe I had to pee. And I had sat there for like 20 minutes and I told him a few times I really had to pee, but I didn't want to get up because it was a small plane. Like walking down the aisle to the bathroom made me nervous. Like standing up while we were in the air made me nervous. It was my first flight, so I was just kind of all over the place. And finally, I just really felt like I was leaking. I thought I was like peeing myself. It was really weird. And I stood up, and as I got to the center of the aisle and started walking down, I just felt fluid everywhere. And I should have said this before, but like, if you have a hard time with, you know, triggers regarding like miscarriage or bleeding while pregnant, this might be a portion you want to skip over. So just kind of a little late of a heads up, but I thought I was peeing myself. I just had fluid coming out everywhere, dripping down my legs. I was wearing black leggings, so I was like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm wearing leggings. I get to the bathroom, and as soon as I pulled my pants down, blood just got everywhere, all over my legs, my shoes, the floor, the toilet. It was just everywhere. And I have PCOS. I deal with heavy periods, changing pad, tampon frequently. That's normal for me. I have never, ever bled this much in my entire life. Ever, at once. Like, it was really bad. And so, of course, to me, the only logical explanation for how much I was bleeding was that we lost the baby. At this point, this was like a Thursday. It was a Thursday. We had done genetic testing on a Monday, and we were going to be getting our results either the next day or the like following Monday. And so we didn't know we were having a girl. We were waiting on the results for the gender. And I just remember I sat in the bathroom and I was just like, to me at that moment, I knew she was gone. Even though she wasn't gone, there was no other explanation to me. I just thought that, you know, I was having a miscarriage. So I come out of the bathroom and I like cleaned up as best as I could, and I had to tell the flight attendant who's sitting next to the bathroom that I was pregnant, I was bleeding, and I needed a pad. So she got me a pad and she was kind of like, are you okay? Do you need medical assistance? And at this point I was just like sobbing. And I was just like, can you get my husband? And so I'm sitting in the very back of the plane at this point. She goes and gets my husband, and then I tell Anthony what's happening, and I'm just like hysterical, and people are kind of like looking around a little bit, like they kind of know something's going on, don't really understand what's happening. And the flight attendant, she didn't really know what to do and was like, do you need medical attention? What can I do for you? And I was like, I have been in this infertility world long enough to know that if you're having a miscarriage, there's nothing that can be done. Like, it's happening and you can't stop it. So I was like, no, like, I don't think that there's anything that I can do. Then she, you know, and I'm not dissing on her at all. She was very nice, but she gets on the comm thing and is like, if anybody has medical experience on the plane, we're having a medical emergency and I need you to get, sorry, got a message. And she was like, we need you to step to the back of the plane. And so this woman, she comes to the back of the plane, and I kind of tell her what's going on, and I was like, I know that there's nothing that can be done, and I was just crying, and she was super sweet, and it was like Anthony, then me, then the row, and then her sitting down, and then the flight attendant. And so she was holding a hand, Anthony was holding a hand, and then the flight attendant goes up to the front, and then she comes to the back and tells me that they're emergency landing the plane. And I didn't know what that meant because we still landed exactly where we were supposed to land. So I don't know if if there's a system where like certain planes go first and like they just made us take priority. I don't really know. then she gets on the intercom again and says, we're emergency landing the plane. Please exit the plane as soon as we land, kind of thing, like telling people to get off the plane. And then she gets on again and tells everybody that actually you need to remain seated when we land. Medical personnel is going to board the plane. And then, so we land and everybody remains seated. And then she's like, would it just be easier for you to just go off the plane first? And I was like, probably. And me like crying, Anthony's holding me. I have like blood-stained leggings and it was horrible. And so all these people are kind of looking around at me like, what is happening to this woman? And I get off the plane. There's a whole bunch of EMTs and like cart and all this stuff. And as you know, my dog's barking. As we get to the what's it called? Just the airport lobby or whatever. We're sitting down and the EMT is kind of just asking me some basic questions, and I just told him, you know, I understand that this was probably a waste of your time. Like I know there's nothing that you can do. And he was like, well, let's at least take your blood pressure. And I was in hysterics. They put the thing on my arm and it goes like, alert, check patient, alert, like that. And it was just, you know, he was like, you're just upset, it's fine, you know. And then I like calmed down a little bit. They took my blood pressure again and he was kind of like, okay, so is this your destination? Are you from here? I was like, I have never been to Texas in my life. I am heading to California from North Dakota and we're here on a layover. Like, I don't know what to do, if we should go to California, if I need to go to the hospital, like, you know, or if we need to go home or I need to go to the hospital. At that point, I knew I needed medical attention first. The trip was kind of like in the back of my mind at that point. And so he was like, well, I do recommend, you know, that if you go to the ER, go to this place. So we decided to take a cab to the emergency room. And the EMT, he was really awesome because we had our luggage sent to California from our first plane. So like he was pretty much, the flight personnel people said there was no way for us to get our luggage back, and he kind of took over from there and stepped up and was like, listen, she is having this going on, please figure out a way to get her luggage. Like he just really, you know, I know that they're just doing their jobs, but I was really thankful for him because they were like, okay, we'll try and get it worked out. You know, they just totally changed their tune once he said something. So I just really appreciated that. And we took a cab. We went to the ER. At this point, we still didn't have our luggage. They said that we would have to come back the next day and get it. So we were at the ER. We get inside and they start taking my information, and then they tell me and Anthony that he can't go back with me because of COVID. And at this point, I was just like, she's gone. I'm gonna find out that, or the baby's gone, because I didn't know it was a girl yet. And I just had this feeling like, all I could think about was I was going to be alone, and I was going to find out that the baby was gone, passed away, and that I was going to have to call Anthony and tell him. And I was just going to be alone while I found out. And that was very traumatic. I get to the back and they kind of get me in a room, they hook me up to an IV to get me some fluids and whatnot. And I waited for a couple hours before an ultrasound technician came in. And Anthony was sitting outside the whole time. He wasn't even allowed to wait in the lobby. And the weather in Texas at that point was extremely humid. But then as it got like later, it got extremely cold. And we didn't have any luggage or anything with us. We had like a couple of carry-ons. And so he was just sitting outside. His phone was dying. And he just went in and asked the lady, like, could I please charge my phone for just a little bit? And she kind of told him he had 5 minutes to charge his phone. Then he had to go sit back outside on the bench. So he was out there, charged his phone up a little bit, was talking to some people about what was going on. And then, you know, the ultrasound technician came in and she had the screen turned away from me and said it was just protocol. Started the ultrasound and then she was like, I didn't show you this. And she turned the screen towards me and she was like, that like flickering that you're seeing right there is your baby's heartbeat. And at that point, I just lost it. Like I couldn't even look at the screen. I was just crying and I was like, thank you so much for showing me that. Yeah, it was just a moment of like pure relief. And because she was still in there talking to me, I just sent Anthony a quick text message and was like, the baby's okay. And he was on the phone with my mom at that point, and my mom told me that he just like lost it, totally broke down outside. I was still in the hospital. I was in the ER for a total of like 4 hours. After the ultrasound technician had showed me that, it took like 2 hours for the doctor who was supposed to tell me the baby was okay to get back in and tell me that the baby was okay. They checked for hemorrhaging and they did not see any hemorrhaging, which was very odd. He kind of, in a way, he kind of dismissed me. I had asked him his opinion about the trip and what he felt I should do, and he was kind of like, that's up to you. Like, if you're gonna have another bleeding incident, like, are you gonna get, what was the word he used? He was like, are you going to overreact and have to go to the emergency room again? Yeah, I was kind of pissed. And I told him I was, you know, I had explained to him how much blood this was. It was an excessive amount of bleeding. And it definitely was not an overreaction at all. But after, you know, that incident, I just knew. I knew that something was wrong. They didn't see anything wrong, but I knew something had to have been wrong. So Anthony and I got a hotel. We talked about it that night. And then we decided we were going to just fly back home. So we got our stuff the next day. We were able to exchange our tickets due to the medical emergency. We had the paperwork, and we ended up having to go to Chicago for a layover and then to Fargo from Chicago. So it was kind of eventful. Our layover in Chicago was like 4 hours or something like that. It was a very long time. I was still bleeding. It did kind of get gradually less, but I got home. I had already sent a message to my doctor at this point. They got me in right away, but I wasn't able to see my midwife. I ended up seeing another midwife who was available, and this midwife was looking over my paperwork from Texas, and she was like, well, it's really strange that there's no like hemorrhaging visible. She did an exam and she had seen like old blood, but not any new blood, and my cervix was closed, so it was all just very confusing. And she was kind of like, well, you know, we'll just monitor it, see how it goes. Well, I ended up having more bleeding, and my ultrasound, or my midwife, had originally, when we were corresponding through message, she wanted me to get another ultrasound regardless to check things out, but this other midwife had kind of like felt like it wasn't necessary after the exam. And after I started bleeding again, which was a few weeks later or something like that, they got me in for an ultrasound again, and I had a pretty large subchorionic hemorrhage. So that was the cause of why I had been bleeding so much. And so I mean, for that, there wasn't really anything that they can do. It was more of an explanation. You know, there are risks associated with having those as far as like miscarriage goes and other things. So it was just kind of a situation where they had told me we have to monitor it. I had to be on pelvic rest for a very long time. If you don't know what that means no sex. It was pretty surreal. At my 28-week appointment, that was the last point that I had seen the hemorrhage, and it was so small they could hardly measure it, which was really good because it was pretty large when they did originally find it. To sum it up, it went away. They said typically they end up going away by 20 weeks. It was still visible at 28 weeks, so it was just kind of one of those situations they kept an eye on. Backtracking a bit to my anatomy scan, they found fluid-filled cysts on Everly's brain and a white, like, calcium deposit, they call it, on her heart, one of which was a soft marker for Down syndrome, one of which was a soft marker for trisomy 18. But I was told that due to the fact that we had done genetic testing, we were low risk for everything, and the fact that, like, these are things that are not totally uncommon to show up on an ultrasound and then end up going away. They just weren't super concerned, so we had to wait 2 more months to my 28-week appointment, and that's when we found out that those were gone. She was okay. Everything from that point till now, which is 35 weeks, has been good. So it's been kind of a lot. That incident on the plane was very traumatic. It was like a movie. That's not something that you ever expect to experience. Like, you just start hemorrhaging on a plane all over, and the lady's like, we're emergency landing the plane or expediting the landing of the plane, and you know, she's like asking on the intercom for medical personnel and all this stuff, and I'm over here just like, I'm gonna find out the gender of my baby after finding out that my baby died. Like, that's all I could think about, was that, like, my baby died and that I was going to find out the gender afterwards. And I just kept thinking about, like, treatments and, like, whether or not we would want to do it all again. Like, at that point, it was just so traumatic that it was just a lot. It was a lot. This whole pregnancy experience has been wonderful and hard in so many different ways. And I'm just so excited to meet her and have her here on the outside of me. I am so thankful to have been able to experience this, but I'm just very eager to have her on the outside of me, because there's been a lot of things about pregnancy that were a lot harder and kind of more traumatic than I expected them to be. You know, and I think a lot of it started at that incident and the bleeding and, you know, getting pregnant and having previously struggled with fertility issues and being involved in the community where you're hearing stories a lot of people's losses at various points through pregnancy. It's really triggering each week that I would, like, hit a certain point that would jog a story. You know, I would kind of get anxiety even if I was past 12 weeks. And so there's been some tough things, but it's still something that I am extremely grateful for as far as the experience goes. Again, I am so sorry for not having recorded in so long. It has been heavy on my mind frequently, and every time I'm like, I'm gonna film this weekend, I never end up doing it because I'm getting ready for the baby. I am exhausted. I am trying to rest. Like, it's just been much. So needless to say, I'm very excited for maternity leave. I am cutting back my hours down to 15 hours a week after the baby is here, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, I do have some other stuff filmed. I'm not going to give you a timeline because I don't want to make any promises. I have goals though. I'm like out of breath. I got heartburn, like acid reflux all the time. It's a little nasty, but I do have some stuff I would like to get out. I'm a lot more active on Instagram than I am on here. So if you kind of want more regular updates, you can follow me on there. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video, hopefully soon. And thank you for following along. Thank you for those of you who have watched these videos and have messaged me on Instagram, because getting to know you guys in that way and you opening up to me about your experiences, it's an honor. It is truly an honor to have even just a couple of people pop in and tell me, I'm going through all of this. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit with me, like it would be really helpful. Just so you know, don't feel embarrassed to reach out and send me those messages, because I will always respond. If it takes me a while to reply, that's just because, same thing with the video, it's timing and me just trying to get to it all. But I do really enjoy getting those messages, and I do not mind sharing any question or trying to answer any questions that you have. So yeah, this is really long. I know this is gonna be a really long video, but if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and comment, subscribe, and all that stuff you're supposed to do if you want. And yeah, bye.